Hi, everyone. I can see attendees joining. We're just giving everybody a minute or two to get logged in. This is Leanne with CSI. I'm accompanied by Rod Ripley and Jean Helling. We are ready to go, but we'll give everybody a couple minutes to get settled. Hi, everybody. Just repeating myself that we have started the webinar, but we're giving everybody a few minutes to get logged in and settled in. So we will begin shortly. While everybody's logging in, just to take note, there is a Q&A section within Zoom where you can enter your questions throughout the webinar. I will be here to answer, Jean will answer, and Rod. So we will have a segment at the end to open up for questions, but as we go, that is where you'll put your questions in the question and answer forum. Okay, we're up to 18 participants. We are supposed to have around 40, so I'm going to give it another minute. So go ahead and do what you need to do while we get settled. Going to get started. Jean, if you don't mind, I don't know if it's Jean or Rod, but there's some background there. If you guys would mute just until you're on.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, welcome. My name is Leanne Sanson. I am with CSI. We are here today to talk about AP automation for marketing and media agencies that utilize Workamajig. So today with me, I have Jean Helling, who is the VP of Finance with Flynn Wright. We have a section coming up in the webinar where Jean will talk about the payment program and her experience. And Rod Ripley, who is the lead account manager at Workamajig, is going to talk through the program functionality today. I, again, am with CSI. We are a partner of Workamajig supporting this payment automation tool. I have been with CSI for 15 years. I run the advertising and media division, and I'm here today to talk to you guys about that. The CSI and Workamajig partnership, believe it or not, we designed or we put together back in 2015. So we've had many years together where we've built an integration that Workamajig agencies can take advantage of to pay vendors electronically through credit card, ACH, and check, and benefit from the automation, the savings, and also the rebate. So CSI and Workamajig have about 40 or more agencies that are leveraging this today. And as CSI as a whole, we have about 300 agencies ranging from small independents to large holding companies. So it is an expertise of ours to provide payment solutions to advertising agencies. I mentioned it earlier, but we invited you here today to learn about this program for the benefit of your agency, in a sense of reducing costs, earning new revenue through credit card rebates, and just producing operational efficiencies. So throughout the day today, throughout the hour, we will talk to you about how to do that. I'm going to hand it over to Rod Ripley, who will talk you through the program from the Workamajig perspective.
Thanks, Leanne. All right. So here we are going through a couple of slides of the Workamajig process. We'll go through a little bit of the typical setup first. So when we're setting up this integration, what we would like to do is we like to create a separate bank account to act as kind of like a virtual card, if you will. So this is just a screenshot, just an example of what one may create in their GL accounts, just simply calling it the CSI kind of clearing account, if you will. All right, next slide. What do we got? There, step 2. So here's where we can kind of connect to this integration here in your system setup under connections. There's a credit card section, and it would be under that V card setup over there on the right of the screen here. You get your username and password from the lovely folks over at CSI, and just kind of plug that in there, test it, make sure it works, and then you should be up and running at that point. From there, we go into our vendors, and we can establish which vendors are going to be using this virtual card feature. So in each of our vendors, we set them up with which ones accept what we call VPay or virtual pay. It's basically a filter that will play into the payments screen when we go to pay our vendors. And so at this point, we continue our setup with the print check screen. So if we're all familiar with the print check screen, what we want to do here as well is go into the system settings of the print check screen and enable the use CSI V card. This will enable the functionality from the check screen to create batches and electronically send them over to CSI for payment. If you opt to do what we call like a kind of like a pre-funding of your V card account, so you kind of like pay online ahead of time, you want to load that virtual card account in Workamajig using a journal entry. Kind of self-explanatory here, but that's why we'd have that bank account set up in the first place, so you could then get this going. And now we go through the kind of process of paying our vendors. So you would use the standard functionality, go to your to pay for vendor invoices in that screenshot on the left. Kind of in the middle, you can see there's an option now. There's a filter there, if you will, where it says, vendors that accept V card. So any of those vendors that we checked, you kind of filter down your list of vendors. So that way you're not having to, manually sift through them. You can just say, hey, pick all the vendors that we want to use this feature with. And when we click on the pay button, then you'll see in the last screenshot there on the right, we want to choose that CSI kind of a clearing account that we've created. This will allow you to see how much has already been kind of loaded into that account, like that pre-funding we were just referring to. So you can see what your balance is remaining to pay and those kind of things before you click generate payments. Once you've generated the payments, I guess I went through this a little bit as well. Same thing, you pick that cash account, you generate your payments. All of that is basically, set up in this screen first. So you want to make sure you're paying from your clearing account, not your typical bank account. Going through the last step here before we kind of send it over to CSI. Over on the left-hand side there, we have our screenshot of that today purchasing page. We already did the pay vendor invoices. We generated payments. So now those payments will show up in that checks to print queue. When you open that checks to print queue, you want to select the cash account, the CSI clearing account. There will be all the payments that we have just created. And instead of printing checks, now you see that there's a new button up there called Add to Batch. So once you click that button, that preps it for sending over to CSI. Once you've added a batch and the batch screen opens, notice there are no more payments behind that batch screen. They're all in this batch screen now. And at this point, we just simply review everything, make sure it looks good. And then when we're ready, you click publish batch at the top. And that sends the information over to CSI. At which point, we've kind of logged it in Workamajig. We track the batch ID for the payments. So if you ever need to run a report or, refer to anything, there's ways that we can find that information in Workamajig. But now at that point, you'd log into your CSI interface and follow the steps from there.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, most welcome.
I'll take it back and just talk to you about the CSI process. To wrap things up from Rod's perspective. So what he just walked you through is the CSI integration within Workamajig. That integration exists today, is utilized by over 40 Workamajig agencies to pay suppliers via virtual credit card. That technology is no cost to you. The reason it's no cost is because the credit card earns interchange that produces revenue for our organization and yours, because just like any credit card, a portion of that rebate is shared back to your business. Again, it already exists today. So it's a matter of determining whether your agency could utilize the technology and activating it. So once you've done the steps within Workamajig, the payment data hits the CSI system, which then we determine whether we will pay the vendor on card, check, or ACH. You can just send us card payments as well. So CSI will add in workflow, review, and approval based on your business needs, and ultimately pay the vendor by sending them a one-time use credit card number. That one-time use card works only for the amount of the invoices paid, so it is fully secure. Vendor processes the payment. We send you back the cleared payment data for reconciliation. And on a monthly basis, you earn a rebate for all of the volume you ran through on card for the previous month. Again, any questions along the way, there is a Q&A section, and please add to that. So this slide is talking about the process. So step one is you determine whether you want to activate this technology within Workamajig. You get in touch with CSI, we get in touch with Workamajig, we turn on the functionality for you at no cost. From there, you set up a CSI account and we tell you what vendors accept credit card. We do that lift for you so you don't have to handle your own enrollment. When you run your payables, you'll do a payment run for all of the card accepting vendors. You'll then pre-fund that amount. So if you're doing a batch of credit card payments and it's $100,000, you'll fund $100,000 into your account. Similar to the notion that you have to have cash in your checking account to cash checks, the cash needs to be in your card account to issue credit cards. Payment is immediately sent to vendors, processed and settled, and rebate distributed. Vendor enrollment, that's where a lot of CSI's expertise comes in. So we have been in this industry for 15 years, and we have partnered with the ERP systems, and we've partnered with the vendors. So we know which vendors of yours accepts credit cards or not, and in what way that they accept. So part of the process here is you, the agency, sharing us a list of your suppliers, which we then share back to you who accepts card. And then we track and maintain and handle all of that data management for you as well. We will also check in frequently to see what new vendors there are or any changes that have been made in acceptance. There is also another payment method outside of card, which is called CSI Network, when a vendor won't accept credit card, but will take ACH with a fee for enhanced data. That's another method we look to enroll vendors in as well. On the screen here is what your vendors receive. It's the email remittance advice. So the vendor will get the one-time use card with all of the payment information they need to process those payments. Some vendors, especially in the media space, have payment portals, meaning they accept credit card, but it has to be processed through a portal. CSI will handle that. We've either built technology with the portal to process automatically, or we have a payment team that will process those payments for you, but that manual workload is not on you. Okay, moving to implementation. From the time you decide that this solution is for you to the time you're running transactions can be as little as 2 weeks. That is dependent on your timeline and your availability. But we'll start with a kickoff call where we just get everyone on your end and our end together to talk through the program and the next steps. We activate the integration that Rod showed us earlier today, train, and then run some transactions. But I will have, I'm sure Jean will talk about this shortly and the ease of implementation. So sometimes people think that they have too much on their plate, or they don't have the time or the resources to turn on a solution like this. It really is minimal for a lot of freed-up resource. Okay, I will pause. I'll introduce Jean. I will say again that there is a question and answer section in Zoom that you can type your questions in. We will have an area at the end of the call where me and Rod and Jean can answer all of your questions. So Jean, thank you for being here with us today.
You're welcome.
Everyone, Jean Elling is with Flynn Wright. She has been on the CSI payment solution for a few years now. She had experience with credit cards prior to CSI, so it's not a foreign solution to her. Jean, could you say hello to everybody and tell us about your agency?
Hi, yes, hello everybody. We are a full service ad agency. We have a lot of clients in the Midwest. We have a client in like New York and California that has, that kind of covers a lot of other states. So we're in a lot of different states. And we've been around for 3+ years, so.
Great. Thanks, Jean. So when you learned of CSI, you were already utilizing a credit card solution, correct? And it was
Correct, we were.
And it was a more manual process. Can you tell us about where you were at in the finance department when you came across CSI?
We actually had an individual here that went to one of the Workamajig, I think boot camps or something, that had heard about it, and she came back and we talked about it and looked into it further because we weren't happy with our current vendor at all. The customer service, just, it took us more time, a lot of headaches and everything. So looked into it and decided to go with it. And happy 3 years later that we made that change. Have no regrets.
What has incorporating credit card into a form of payment for Flynn Wright, what has that done to improve processes for you and financial outcomes?
Oh, just the time it saves versus, not doing the checks. We obviously, as you talked about, you get the rebate and you get it monthly. Where we're at before, it was like a 3-year-long program, but you'd get it yearly. It just shortens our whole process time with every step of the payables, because once you click that on and send it over, it's really out of our hands. I mean, CSI follows up if that card, say, isn't processed within, a short time, they follow up with the vendor. If there's an issue with the card, and they'll reach back out to us, like on a payment type of issue and say, hey, this is what they're saying. They'll get back to the vendor. So they're great at communicating with the vendor, monitoring the account and the activity, getting back to us with anything we need to do. It has just made honestly, it's made our life a lot easier, not tearing your hair out. It's very simple. The implementation was something I was absolutely amazed with, because probably several people have experience with other implementations, whether it be banks or just, different softwares. And this really was seamless. You can get it up and going quick and easy. I couldn't say enough good things about it.
Thank you. So we're in our second or third year together.
Third year. Yep, we started in September of 19.
Okay, that's great. Could you talk about your experience with the CSI support model, vendor enrollment, support on the vendor side with dealing with outstanding card management? I'd like the audience to hear how the support model works for FlynnRight.
When we first signed up, you kind of helped us come up with a form for like new vendors. So what we did kind of with your help is we established a form that we send out with any new vendor, trying to get them first, to sign up for that credit card. And that's the first option we give them. And we give them that form, they send it to CSI. CSI works with them and really does all that setup. We're really, at that point, we're not doing anything except for sending that vendor that form. With the support, they, like I said, earlier, they will reach out with that vendor if there's any questions on the invoices, or and they just do all that communication there. You can go on their site and see, hey, these are the cards that are left out there, say 3 or 4 days later. But we don't have to really do anything with it, because CSI will then, after so many days, reach out again to that vendor to say, hey, you haven't taken this card, is there any issues? I've just not had any trouble with anybody, any customer service there. If I call and I need to talk to somebody that day, if there is something going on, I get a call back, or I get even answer it. If my account manager is out of the office, I will get an out of office with somebody else that I can contact. So I've always been able to contact somebody, which is so different than my previous experience. So that's why I guess it's just great, because you don't have to worry that you're going to be on hold, or you're just not going to get somebody to talk to you about something that you need right away. And then when you do talk to them, like I said, it's just cleared up. I mean, it's simple, it's easy, it's hands off. It will save you time and headaches.
Thank you, Jean. I'm running through in my head just some things we hear from users that are not open to or ready to use the CSI Workamajig program. One of them is time, and we already touched on that. Implementation can be instant because the integration is already there. Another concern I hear quite often is why would the vendors accept credit card, and is there any disturbance in asking them to pay? From a vendor relationship perspective, is there anything to take note of?
I mean, there obviously are some people that they won't take it, and that's fine. But surprisingly, a lot of them are willing, because it's easier on their side too, and it's more efficient for them. So we don't necessarily push anybody, but a couple times a year, at least once a year. So, somebody from your side will ask for a vendor file, and we'll just go through that file again to say, hey, anybody that's currently taking checks, are they now taking credit card? It's really don't have to do a hard sell, because the ones that accept it are happy to take it. And because I think they know how smooth it works too.
Right. Now, correct me, you're doing card only through CSI, right? Not utilizing, correct. Right. So Jean is using card only, which is an option. We also can add in check and ACH. So that's elective depending on what your business needs are. But what we look to do is if a vendor accepts credit card, we will pay them by credit card. If they don't, they can default to check or ACH. But this is about taking advantage of the vendors that on their own already accept credit card. CSI will figure out who those vendors are, and your agency will benefit from the rebate. And the rebate is really not small, especially with the dollars that are running through through agencies. It can pay for a salary or more. Okay, Jean, anything else? So one more question I had. So you were using another program before
Mhm.
CSI, and in the 3 years that we have worked together, you've been approached by multiple providers that would like to plan right to use their solution. What is it about CSI that keeps you with us as far as our expertise in media?
Just the ease and the customer service. That's what it comes down to. I mean, the customer service and the ease of handling it. I mean, there's just, it saves so much time, and that's really why we stay with it. I mean, there's no reason for us to even look at anybody else because it works so well. I've told several ones, it's just like, I'm not interested because when something works this well, I'm not going to look at something else.
Right. Especially if it's a bank or another large card provider, they don't have the integration, and they don't have the knowledge or the one-on-one touch that it takes to run a program like this.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So thank you for seeing that in us. Okay, so I'll move on to the next segment. Jean, thank you so much for sharing your feedback. If you can stay on, I'm sure we'll have some questions from the audience. Okay, so we have talked for the last 30 minutes about the technology. You've seen how it works, the benefits of using it, and heard from Jean on her perspective as a user. So the next steps, if this is a solution that you want to evaluate for yourself, what we typically do is we start with some discovery, and we analyze your vendors. So that's us taking a look, no cost, at your vendor list and reporting back to you what vendors accept and what the potential rebate would be for you, so we can tie a revenue to it. If it makes sense, there's a MSA that you fill out with CSI, and that starts the whole process that we talked through implementation. My email is on the screen. I'm sure you'll get a follow-up from the Zoom as well with my contact. This is just a look at the vendor analysis, where we'll take your spend and we will analyze it into categories of vendors that accept and vendors that don't. So I'm going to leave the thank you page up. We will, my contact is there, and I'm going to run through the questions that we have here from the audience, and please keep the questions going. So we have 30 minutes. I know we won't take all that time, but if we could chat for the next 10 or 15, that would be great. So the first question is there a charge for ACH or check payments to vendors? The answer to that is yes. So card is no cost. Implementation is no cost. There is a fee for check and ACH. Check is $1.25, including postage. So if you think of that cost, it's really a savings compared to doing it in-house. And ACH, it depends if we're sending a file to your bank or sending the file to us to facilitate the ACH, but there's typically a small transaction fee. But those fees are deducted from the rebate. So if you're running all payment types, you're earning several $1,000s a month in credit card rebates, and we're taking just dollars off of that to cover the non-card payments. So it should be not just a savings, but also an operational efficiency gain as well. Okay, Rod, I think this one is for you.
Yep.
You see it there?
Yeah. So it looks like Krista was saying, once you hit the batch button, does Workamajig automatically create payment info for that invoice at that time, or do we still have to create the payment in Workamajig to reflect paying the invoice? So when you're hitting the batch button, technically you've already created the payment in Workamajig. What's really happening is, you're basically treating the vendor invoice and paying the vendor invoice with payments in Workamajig, but you're simply telling the payment, hey, this was paid via CSI. So when you create the batch, it creates a entry entry against that payment and puts it to a batch ID. So instead of giving it a, like a payment number per se, it's, recognizing it was part of a batch, and then it's just reflected as a payment in your Workamajig. So you can run reports and still find it and see what, payments were part of what batch in Workamajig. But yeah, you're still creating payments technically. Hopefully that helps to answer that question.
Krista, if it didn't answer, just type it in again another way. Okay, so next question is there functionality to pay vendors like Google and Facebook and other digital vendors? We manage a lot of ad campaigns and use a card stored with the vendors. It's difficult when the card expires or we have fraudulent charges and have to update the card everywhere. So the answer to that is yes, CSI has functionality to pay those vendors. It's a little different than what we talked about today. So virtual cards are for invoices. Google and Facebook and other digital providers don't accept virtual cards on invoices, but they do take credit card if you put a card on file. The problem with that, like we're hearing from this user, is that it becomes a bit of a reconciliation mess, and it's really hard to maintain. So what we do is we have a function called campaign cards. So you're creating a multi-use virtual card. So instead of it being one-time use, you can use it multiple times up to the campaign ad budgets that you've set. And each card is specific to a campaign or a client. So if the card gets shut off on one, it doesn't affect the others. That also helps with reconciliation because all of the transactions on that card are associated with that client or that campaign. Plus you get to earn rebates on it. So it's a lot cleaner of a process. And I'd be happy to talk about it more. Okay. How do you handle vendors who do not accept credit cards? If the vendor doesn't accept credit card, we will try to board them on what's called a network payment, which is ACH with a fee. The reason we charge the vendor a fee is because we're providing enhanced data. There's also straight ACH that has no fee, that doesn't have the enhanced data and check. So we have multiple payment options for the vendors. Card is the highest revenue for all, so we'll maximize card first, then go to network, which does share a portion of that fee back to you, but it's much smaller than a credit card fee. And then check and ACH do not have any rebates because there is no fee to the vendor on those. But ideally, CSI is providing all of the payment needs for your agency. And just to take note, the checks are still your checks. We're printing and mailing them for you, but they're still clearing from your checking account. How does the bank recon work in Workamajig? Since a different bank account in Workamajig than the bank account statement. Jean, would that be appropriate for you to answer? How do you reconcile the credit card account? You're on mute.
It just, since we wire the money, once we do the journal entry for the payments and then we wire the money, it's just a zero account then. So if something isn't right, it shows up there. So say something, there was an issue with the card and whatever it may be, then next time we wire the money, maybe we'll either reduce that wire or, adjust it if it's an add-on or something. So it's just a zero account basically. So there's usually never any issues with that. There's really no reconciliation with it that we do.
It's just a matter of reconciling back to the balance that you wired, and we'll provide the reporting on outstanding cards. So if
correct, yeah, you can see that on your site, correct, yes. But actually on our books, it's like it goes out and with the journal entry and then with the wire, and it just zeroes out on our books anyway. But yes, we can get all the other information, if something's still sitting out there by looking at your website.
Yeah.
Or if you need to cancel a card, delete it, or if there's some issue there, you have all that functionality there to be able to do that.
Okay, thank you. What is the fee for the service? Is it monthly or annually? So Workamajig charges no fee to utilize this technology. CSI charges a service fee of $75 a month, and we deduct that from the rebate. So it's quite minimal and there's nothing out of pocket. So again, you're earning a significant monthly rebate based on all the volume. CSI will take off of that any non-card payment fees like check and ACH and our small service fee. Is there a fee cost to add on the ACH check functionality? We have quite a few vendors that won't accept CC payments due to the fees. So there isn't a fee to utilize that functionality other than the transaction fees. And if the vendors won't accept credit card, you know, sometimes they have terms, sometimes they want to add another fee. We'll get as many vendors as we can on card and then utilize the function for the non-card payments after that. Are we able to make ACH payments to international vendors? CSI does have a foreign wire function, but not through Workamajig. So Brooke, I will look at that with you outside of the integration. Is there a fee you charge for campaign cards for Google and Facebook? No, no fee there. It's just a functionality that you use. You put the card on file, you earn rebates for it. No fees for card. And the reason there's no fees on card is because the vendor, in this case, Google and Facebook, pay a fee to accept. We earn that fee and share it back with you. Ryan, I see your question here. I will get back to you personally on that.
Yeah, let me know as well. We'll see if we can expedite that, see what's going on.
Okay. Ryan, I don't know the name of your agency though, so if you could type that to me, that would be appreciated. Can a submitted batch be recalled? How to handle situations where a payment included in a batch needs to be canceled or voided. So you can control the payments up until the point that they're released. So you can edit a batch, you can deselect payments within it. If you've sent a batch for release and the credit cards have been submitted, it can't be recalled, but the credit cards can be blocked. The credit cards can be refunded. So there's a lot of fail safes through that process. Jean, can you talk about having to cancel or void a payment?
Yeah, it's on the site. I don't know. It's pretty easy just to go in there and do that, and then it's just communicating it with whoever your account manager is to be aware of that too. We usually just kind of go back and forth via email, and it's very responsive. They will let the vendor know what's going on. And like I said, if you do cancel one, then you know the next wire you do or something, you just kind of reduce that wire, and you're all back to where you need to be.
Thank you. Okay, Ryan, I got the name of your agency. Thank you. All right, that is the end of our questions. Thank you, everybody, for participating today. We'll give you 20 minutes of your time back. Jean, thank you for being here. Rod, you as well. I appreciate you participating in this with me today.
Of course, anytime.
And like I said, everyone, I am here to talk about the program with you for your agency. Have a great afternoon or morning. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.